Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca. It's time to discuss the future and really my optimistic predictions for what I'm going to read in June. This is my to be read list. This means that I have these things all highly on my radar as things I really want to get to, but this is not a promise. I'm not very good at sticking to TBRs, but these are all really exciting me right at this moment. And I very much think I have kept this TBR pretty manageable and in line with what I'm wanting from my June. So I think the big umbrella for what I want to read, apologies, there was a cat quake. The big umbrellas for what I want to read are falling under two big events, and then we have one item for a third event. So those two big events are Pride and reading LGBT stories, and also Joy Reading June. So I think Joy Reading June is a mix of seeking out things that are going to bring you joy, number one, and there's an element of just mood reading, certainly, to that. So I do want to do some mood reading. I always do, though. So these are the things I think I can put on my TBR as things that will definitely bring me joy, for sure, in the month of June. And so I'm combining those two queer reading and joy reading into queer joy reading June for myself. So on to the actual books I want to read. The first one is actually a memoir. Actually, the first two are brand new releases pretty much as well. So first one is a newly released memoir from Kristen Kish, a wonderful chef who won Top Chef, went on to host the sort of new version of Top Chef on Netflix, and also hosted a show that I absolutely adore that is kind of underrated called Restaurants at the Edge of the World, where she travels to far-flung locations. And so it meshes the travel with food, and she also strikes the balance that I haven't really seen in anyone since Anthony Bourdain of just truly, in a genuine way, getting across and finding the connection of people and food. And I just love the way that Kristen gets that across. So this is a memoir that features that food element very prominently, but I think it also is going to incorporate her coming out journey. So onward to the next new release item, Let Them Stare by Jonathan Van Ness and Julie Murphy. Jonathan Van Ness is famous for their journey on Queer Eye, the current running Netflix version. And also Julie Murphy is very well known for Dumplin' and Puddin', famous books that do also feature drag. This one is following Sully, a non-binary character trapped in a small town who I think desperate to find themselves, get out, kind of is attempting to set off on a journey, and that gets thwarted. So after that's thwarted, they feel their life a little at the end, and they go to a thrift store to drown their sorrows, seeking out some fashionable items, and find a vintage handbag that turns out to be haunted by a 1950s drag queen. And that sets them off seeking out the history of their town, this small town in, I think, Pennsylvania that they're stuck in. And so that just sounds like a raucous good time. I think this is on the older end of YA, probably, but it sounds so fun and entertaining. So I am definitely up for this one. And I've got a hold that I'm pretty sure will come in time for this month. But if not, it will be at the tail end, probably, of June. The next one that I want to get to is Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. I read the second book in this series of companion romance novels 2 years ago, I think, and it was on my favorites list. So I knew I wanted to go back and read this first book in the series. And this one sounds like it will be right up my alley. It is featuring a reality cooking competition. We have the first non-binary character coming on to the competition who sort of falls for a very disaster-prone competitor. So yeah, that sounds like every vibe that I want. I haven't read very much romance this year, which is kind of disappointing, and yeah, I think this will be a great fit for Queer Joy June. Then onward to my actual print books that I want to get to. I have Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. And Emily Austen keeps very rapidly putting out books. I think this was the debut novel. And every single novel that comes out is wildly different, and yet every single time I'm like, I really need to check out this author because that sounds like something I will like. So this one is following a lesbian who is full of anxiety, I think, and accidentally gets hired for a job working as a secretary at a Catholic church, I believe, at a church, certainly. And that sounds, it's very humorous apparently, so that sounds very funny, like as a premise. And the reason that she gets hired there is because through her awkwardness, she shows up for sort of a mental health support group, I think, and doesn't correct them when they assume that she's there for the job. And just goes along with it and continues working there. So I think that sounds very fun and funny. This is just a contemporary fiction as far as I know, nothing unusual. And it's fairly short. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And not only that, continuing on with the other books that Austen has come out with that have really intrigued me if I do wind up enjoying this. So those are my Queer Joy reads. The other that I'm going to participate in, I think for sure, is June on the Range. Oddly enough, I have kind of a non-traditional selection for that. And that is Harry Heathcote of Gangoil by Anthony Trollope. I love Trollope's writing. And this one is drawn from his experiences in Australia. So this is not an American Western. This is an Australian Western. And this is crackling with earthy vitality and humor. It remains today a vigorous portrayal of a rancher's life in the Australian bush of the 1870s. He has run-ins with a neighboring family who are cattle rustlers or cattle stealers. Like, sounds very, very interesting, and it's also quite short. I know that Trollope will have a good sense of humor, and I adore his writing, so I'm super intrigued to get into this one. So those are the specific books I have at this point. In addition to these, I will have some specific books, but I don't know what they are quite yet. As I'm filming this, we're still a couple days away from the completion of the second round of the BookTube prize. So I am signed up as a judge for BookTube prize. It is 4 rounds of 2 months each, and you can judge for any of those rounds. But if you're judging the final, you must judge one prior round. So I'm going to judge the third round that is beginning in June and July. And I will have 6 books to read over 2 months. So I will have my assignment on June 1st, I believe, and I'm hoping that's a good assignment. I am expecting that assignment to be in the nonfiction space. I am signed up for both fiction and nonfiction, but usually nonfiction at this point is short on judges. So I will probably be getting 6 nonfiction books, and I have no idea what they will be. But I am very excited. I've enjoyed all of my BookTube prize judging so far, so I'm happy to be back in. I've missed out on the first 2 rounds, and I'm very excited to be in for the third. So those will be coming up, and who knows how they will go. That could also derail a lot of my reading. So most of the books that I've shown so far have been fairly light because of that. Because some of the books are quite long, heavy, and possibly may not be the mood I'm in. So we'll see where I strike that balance, but I would like to finish at least 3 of the 6 books I'm assigned in the month of June, of course. So beyond that, I think that's it for my specific plans. The only other thing that I really strongly have in mind is that I want to participate in Sue Jackson's Big Book Summer. This is something she's had running for 10 years, more than 10 years, I think, at this point, and it's just reading books over 400 pages. I don't know if that's going to fit into my plans for June, but that is a summer-long event. So if it doesn't wind up fitting into my plans for June, I definitely will be trying to fit it in before the end of the summer. So that's the other one that's really, really prominent in my mind. There's also a historical fiction readathon being run by Shelley Swearingen and Melinda from My Web of Stories that I would love to dive into. So that's also back of my mind, that if I have the time, I want to squeeze something in historical, though this probably will fit for that as well. I think I want something specifically in addition, though, for that readathon. So yeah, I have so many events that I always want to participate in. So I think that's it for the TBR. Thankfully, this doesn't feel like an overwhelming amount, though it is a high number of books. It feels like most of these will be pretty light, fun, entertaining books that are going to balance great with my nonfiction reads for the BookTube prize, hopefully. And I will hopefully also have some time to mix in some mood reading that will bring me some joy. I definitely am needing that vibe for my June reading month. So that is it for my reading. Please let me know what you're most excited for me to pick up. Let me know what you're reading in June, because I love to hear about everybody's TBRs. I'm really into planning, though I'm terrible about sticking to plans. And with that, I will say thank you so very much for watching.